Chapter 1. The Back Dock. The first thing you learn working in donations intake at a thrift store is that people lie about what's in the bags, not on purpose. They just don't remember. A woman drops off some old kitchen stuff, and inside you find her wedding album, a half-empty bottle of Klonopin, and a child's tooth in a film canister. So you wear gloves. You wear gloves, and you sort with your face turned slightly away. Because grief has a smell, and smell gets into the cloth of your shirt, and rides home with you on the bus. I worked the back dock at a place called Heartlines Resale, on the north end of a city I'll just call Bowman. The people who own Heartlines are still in business, and I don't want to make them fightable. The store ran on 3 things: a tax-exempt designation, a payroll of 4 people, including the manager, and the steady tidal pull of Americans purging their houses every Saturday morning. We took furniture, clothes, books, and electronics that still showed a green light. We did not take mattresses, car seats, or anything that hummed when you weren't touching it. That last rule is mine. It wasn't on the laminated sheet by the time clock. I added it after the 3rd bag. My survival habit, if you want to call it that, was a notebook. A small black field notes I kept in the chest pocket of my work shirt. Every shift, I logged the contents of any donation that struck me as off-meaning, anything the donor didn't seem to know they had given. A diary, prescription bottles, framed photos of people who looked alive. I wasn't being a creep. I was protecting myself. Twice in my first year, the police came asking about items connected to estate disputes, and twice my notebook saved the store from a small lawsuit. Donna, the manager, started buying me the notebooks in 3px. I tell you all this so you understand. I was a careful person. In a job where carelessness gets you sued, or sick, or in one specific case I'm coming to something else. The first impossible thing arrived on a Tuesday in late September. Donna handed me a clipboard with the truck manifest and said, "Skylar, bags are in. Sort them last." Skylar, I said. I'd been there 9 months, and I'd never heard the name. Place upstate. They send a pallet every Wednesday by freight. Has been for 20 years. She corrected herself. Has been for 20 years. I was told when I started. Just sort them last, and pull anything weird. Don't put their stuff on the floor before I check it. Okay then, why last? She was already walking back into the store. Over her shoulder, she said, "Because it always smells like a basement, and the customers complain if it's still on you when you ring them up." I sorted them last. There were 11 bags that day, white contractor grade, the tops twisted and taped, no donor slips, no zip codes on the pallet wrap. The freight label said only **Skylar Collections, Heartlines Resale Bowman **, and a routing number that, when I looked it up later that night on my phone, did not correspond to any town, post office, or registered freight depot in the state. The bags did smell like a basement. They also smelled, faintly, of river water in August. I cut the first one open. Inside were 43 children's shoes. Not pairs. Singles. All left-footed, all worn in the same place along the inner heel, as if 43 different children had walked the same way for the same number of years. I counted them twice, logged it in the notebook, taped the bag shut. I did not tell Donna that night, because Donna had already left, and because I wanted to look at the bag again in the morning, in better light, and convince myself I had miscounted in the morning. The bag was gone, and the manifest had been reprinted with 1 fewer item on it. Chapter 2. How Heartlines Works. Heartlines sat in a long, low building that used to be a Pontiac dealership. The showroom had become the sales floor. Bright fluorescents, racks on wheels, a register up front, where Marcy worked the day shift, and a kid named Devin worked nights. The service bays in the back were our intake area, 3 roll-up doors opening onto a concrete dock where the donation cars pulled up between 9 and 6. Past the dock, through a fire door, was what we called the cage, a chain-link enclosure where unsorted bags waited their turn. Past the cage was the sort floor, 3 folding tables, a rolling rack for hangable items, and 4 big rubber bins labeled **textile, hard books, trash asterisk asterisk. There was a routine to it. You tagged the bag with the date and your initials. You cut the tie with a seam ripper, never scissors, because scissors slipped. And slipping meant you cut yourself on whatever was at the top. Once a meat thermometer, once a denture. You laid the contents out on the table in a single pass. You sorted. Anything you flagged for Donna went in a fifth bin we kept under the table, marked asterisk asterisk hold asterisk asterisk. Anything that should never have been donated, IDs, prescriptions, ammunition, went in a locked drawer in her office. Most days, sorting was meditative. You started to recognize people by their leavings. The man on Vinegar Hill who donated exactly 1 box every 6 weeks. All books on sailing, none of them creased. The widow in Linden Park who sent bags of her husband's shirts twice a year, on what I eventually realized were his birthday and their anniversary. You felt like a priest in a confessional where nobody came back to be absolved. They just sent the evidence and trusted you to be kind to it. The third routine, and this is the one that mattered later, was the close. At the end of every shift, the last person on the dock walked the cage with a flashlight and counted bags. You wrote the number in a logbook hanging from a nail by the fire door. If your number didn't match the morning's number, minus what you'd sorted, you called Donna. It had happened twice in my time. Both times, a bag had fallen behind a pallet. Both times we found it. The morning after the left-footed shoes, I came in early to look. The cage held 41 bags. I had sorted 3 the previous evening. The morning manifest said 44 had come in on the truck. 44 minus 3 was 41. The math worked. But I had opened the Skylar bag. I remembered the weight of those shoes. I remembered counting them 43 twice, because the number had bothered me. I went to the logbook. The previous night's count, in my own handwriting, said 42. I had written 42. I remembered writing it, after sorting 3 bags out of 45. I had written it because 45 minus 3 is 42. So the morning manifest had said 45 when I closed, and now said 44. Someone had reprinted it. Someone had come in overnight, taken a bag, and adjusted the paperwork to make the loss invisible. And the only people with keys were Donna, the owner, a man named Hartline I had met once, and the freight company that delivered the Skylar pallet. I stood there with the clipboard in my hand, and felt, for the first time in that job, the specific cold sensation of being watched by a building. Chapter 3. Asking Donna. I waited until the lunch rush thinned, then went to Donna's office with the clipboard, the logbook, and my notebook. All 3. Donna was 46, divorced, smoked outside by the dumpster during her breaks. She kept a framed picture of 2 cats on her desk, and no picture of any human. I liked her. She had hired me when no one else would, after a year-long gap in my resume that I didn't like to talk about, and she had never asked me to explain it. In return, I didn't ask her about the cats, who I suspected were no longer alive. The Skylar bag with the shoes, I said. Where did it go? She didn't look up from her spreadsheet. What shoes? I logged a bag last night. 43 left shoes. It's not in the cage. Then it got pulled to the floor. It was on hold. I taped it shut and put it in the hold bin. She looked up. She had a particular expression she used when she was deciding how much to tell me. It was the expression of a woman calculating whether the truth was cheaper than a lie. Skylar bags, she said, are not for the floor. Skylar bags get pulled overnight by the freight company. They come, they take what they want back, and they leave the rest. Whatever's in the cage in the morning is ours. Whatever's gone is theirs. That's not what you said yesterday. I said sort them last, and flag anything weird. I didn't say what happens after, Donna. I set the logbook down. Someone reprinted the manifest. The number doesn't match what I wrote. She looked at the logbook. She looked at the manifest. She looked at me, and what she said next, she said carefully. The way you tell a child the dog has gone to live on a farm. You wrote 42, she said. The manifest says 44. 44 minus 3 is 41. We have 41 in the cage. The math works. You miscounted last night because you were tired. That's all. I logged the shoes. Show me the page. I opened my notebook. The page where I had written *bag 7, Skylar 43 left children's shoes, all sized 9 to 13, inner heel wear pattern identical, smell of river * was right where it should be. I had read it twice that morning on the bus. The page was blank, not torn out, not erased. Blank. The page before it had Monday's intake. The page after had yesterday's morning bags. In between, where I had written about the shoes in ballpoint pen on October weight paper, nothing. A clean cream rectangle. Donna watched me find the empty page. She didn't look surprised. She looked, I would later understand, *relieved*. The way a triage nurse looks when a patient's symptoms turn out to be the ones she was trained for, instead of the ones she wasn't. Take your 15, she said. Get some air when you come back. We'll go over the closing procedure together. I think you've been working too many doubles. I went outside and stood by the dumpster where she usually smoked. The air smelled like wet cardboard and the diesel of the morning truck. I held the notebook open on the empty page and ran my thumb across the paper, and felt nothing. No indentation. No ghost of the pen. Nothing. The paper had not been written on. The paper had never been written on. Inside my chest, something small and certain said *quit*. It said it the way a smoke alarm says it. Said it once, and kept saying it. I went back inside and finished my shift. Chapter 4. The Things You Don't Open. Here is what I learned about Skylar bags over the next 3 weeks, by paying attention without writing it down. You don't open them in front of customers. You don't open them when you're alone in the building. Even if you're technically supposed to be alone, because it's after close and you're catching up. You don't open them if you've been crying that day, or if you're hungover, or if you just got off the phone with someone you used to love. The bag will give you what you brought to it. I don't know how else to say that. If you come to it tired, you find tired things, a pillowcase brown at one end, a heating pad that won't heat. If you come to it lonely, you find a wedding ring 3 sizes too small for any finger you've ever loved, and a Polaroid of 2 people whose faces have been pressed together so long the emulsion has fused. You don't take anything home. Not even by accident. Donna told me this on my second Skylar day, holding my wrist lightly above the table where I had been sorting. Check your pockets before you clock out, she said. Check the cuffs of your pants. Check inside your shoes. I laughed. She didn't. I stopped laughing, and she let go of my wrist. There was a girl before you, she said. Lila. She took a bracelet home. She didn't mean to. It was caught in the lining of her jacket. What happened to her? She doesn't work here anymore. Did she quit? Donna looked at me for a long moment. She came back, she said. But she didn't work here anymore. I asked what that meant, and she said, take your 15. The third rule, the one I worked out on my own, was that you don't argue with the manifest. The manifest is what the manifest says. If you remember a different number, you are wrong. If your notebook says a different number, your notebook is wrong. The building was keeping its own books, and the building was older than me, and I could either work in it or not. There was no third option that involved being right. I tested this once. On a Friday in October, I counted 46 bags coming off the Skylar pallet, and I went straight to the manifest and read it before I touched anything. The manifest said 44. I went out to the dock and counted again. 46. I came back inside, and the manifest said 45. I went to the bathroom, washed my face, came back, and the manifest said 44, and I counted the bags again, and there were 44, and I could not have told you, under oath, which 2 had vanished, or whether they had ever been there. I want to be clear about something. I was not losing my mind. I was, if anything, thinking more clearly than I had in years. The job was not making me crazy. The job was teaching me a kind of sanity I had not previously needed. The sanity of accepting that your senses are local instruments, and the building is a larger one, and when they disagree, the smart move is to defer. This was the protocol nobody wrote down. Defer to the building. Don't take things home. Don't open Skylar bags alone. Don't write anything you can't afford to lose. I started writing my notes on a separate pad I kept in my apartment. I wrote them in the evenings, from memory, after I got off the bus. Those pages did not go blank. I checked them every morning before I left for work, and they were always exactly as I had written them. Whatever was editing the field notes in my chest of drawers could not reach across the river to my kitchen table, or it had not yet decided to. Chapter 5, Marcy. Marcy worked the register, and she was the reason I didn't quit. She was 31. She had a 6-year-old named Jonah, and a tattoo of a sparrow on the inside of her left wrist that she said she'd gotten at 19 for reasons she was no longer sure of. She wore her hair in a low bun every day except Wednesdays. When she wore it down, Wednesday was the day her ex took Jonah, and she didn't have to pick him up from school. On Wednesdays, she also stayed late and helped me sort, even though sorting wasn't her job, because she liked the quiet of the back dock after the floor closed, and the way the light came in slantwise through the high windows. We weren't dating. I want to say that clearly. I had been a bad partner in my last relationship, and I had promised myself, during the gap year that wasn't on my resume, that I would not be anyone's partner again until I could be a good one. I wasn't there yet. Marcy seemed to understand this without me explaining it. She talked to me the way you talk to a coworker you are going to know for a long time. We talked about Jonah, and her landlord, and a podcast she liked about unsolved disappearances, and a book I was reading. I'm not going to name, because I don't want anyone to associate it with what happened. She knew about the Skylar bags. Everyone at Heartlines knew, but she had never sorted one, because Donna kept the back dock to one person on purpose, and because Marcy had Jonah, and Donna was protective of mothers in a way she wasn't protective of anyone else. The Wednesday I want to tell you about was the second week of November. It had been raining for 3 days. The dock smelled like wet concrete. The pallet had come in late, and I was behind. Marcy came back at 6:30 with 2 coffees and said, "Donna's gone, I'm helping, don't argue." I argued. She won. We sorted 3 regular bags together, and she was good at it, faster than me, and we laughed about a porcelain cat with a chipped ear that someone had clearly hated for 40 years. Then I made the mistake. I was tired. I was a little in love with her, in the careful, doomed way you can be in love with a coworker on a Wednesday in November. I picked up a Skylar bag without thinking, because it was on the table, and I was sorting bags on the table. And the first cut the tie before I registered the freight tape. Marcy said, "Is that?" "Yeah. You're not supposed to." "I know. She didn't tell me to stop. That's the thing I have to live with." She did not tell me to stop, and I did not stop, and we both leaned in. Inside the bag was a quilt, hand-stitched, log cabin pattern. The kind of thing a grandmother makes, and a granddaughter eventually donates. It was beautiful. It smelled of cedar, and very faintly of river water. We pulled it out together and spread it across the table, and Marcy ran her hand across it and said, "Oh, this is asterisk, nice asterisk. Donna's going to want to keep this back for the holiday rack." Sewn into one corner, in red thread on a small square of muslin, was a name and a date, asterisk asterisk Marcy Halpern, -1994. Asterisk asterisk Marcy was born in 1994. Marcy Halpern was her name. She looked at it, and her face did something I am not going to try to describe, because I don't want to remember it that clearly. She looked at me, then at the quilt, then at the muslin square, and she said, very quietly, "I have never owned this. I have never seen this." Outside, the rain stopped. The dock was very quiet. From the cage, I could hear the bags settling against each other, the way a pile of bags will settle when something inside one of them shifts. Marcy folded the quilt back into the bag herself, neatly, with the care of someone tucking in a child. She taped the bag shut with the packing tape from the dispenser. She wrote asterisk, hold asterisk on the side in black marker. Her hand was steady. Then she went to the bathroom. Em and I heard her be sick. And when she came back, she said, "We are not telling Donna. Not yet. I need to think." I said, "Marcy." She said, "Promise me." I promised her. That was the first promise I broke. Chapter 6. The Pattern. I didn't tell Donna, I told my notebook, the one at home, on the kitchen table, where things stayed written. But once you start looking, you can't stop. That's the trap of pattern recognition. The pattern was always there. You just hadn't been the one it was about yet. Over the next 10 days, I went back through the whole bin. Donna kept the bin in her office now. She had moved it after the shoes, but she had given me a key. Because she trusted me, and because she was, I now understood, training me for something she did not want to name. Some of the items in the bin had names sewn or written on them. A man's wool coat, with our Prendergast 78 stitched into the lining. A child's lunchbox, with Devon M written in Sharpie inside the lid. A leather wallet, empty, with the initials DLH stamped into the corner. Devon worked nights at the register. His full name was Devon Mathers. He was 22. Our Prendergast was the name of the owner. Heartline was the name on the building, but the owner, the man I had met once in the parking lot, had introduced himself as Rob Prendergast. Heartline, he said, had been his father-in-law, dead since 2003. DLH I didn't know yet. I went home that night and laid out everything I had transcribed, every Skylar item I could remember from 9 months of intake, and tried to find the ones with names. There were more than I had realized. A graduation tassel with a year on it. A dog tag with an address that did not exist on any current map of Bowman, but had existed, I found out, in 1971, before the highway widening took out 3 blocks of the east side. A child's drawing, signed Leela, age 7, Leela the girl before me, the one who took a bracelet home, and came back, but didn't work here anymore. The pattern was this: Skylar was sending us our own things, not always our current things. Sometimes things we had not yet owned. Sometimes things we had owned and lost. Sometimes things that belonged to people who worked at Heartlines, or had worked at Heartlines, or, and this was the part I sat with for a long time at my kitchen table, with the radiator ticking and the November dark pressing against the window, were going to work at Heartlines. Marcy's quilt. Marcy was born in 1994. The quilt said 1994. Marcy had started at Heartlines in 2019. The quilt had been stitched, presumably, in the year of her birth. Skylar had been sending bags for at least 20 years. Skylar had been sending Marcy's quilt, possibly, for 25 years. I went into work the next morning, and the manifest said 43 bags, and I counted 43 bags, and I sorted them in order, and I did not open any Skylar bag without 2 people present, and I did not tell Donna anything. Marcy and I had developed a system. She came back on Wednesdays, and we opened the Skylar bags together. With the back dock door cracked for air, and our phones out on the table, not recording, just present, as witnesses to ourselves. We started finding more: a pair of reading glasses with Marcy's prescription, in a case from an optometrist she had never been to. A photograph, faded, of a boy who looked exactly like Jonah at 6, standing in front of a house Marcy had never lived in. A house key. Marcy held up the key on a Wednesday in early December, and said, "This fits my back door." "I know it does. I can feel it." I said, "Don't try it." She said, "I know." She took it home anyway. That's the thing about pattern recognition. By the time you see the pattern, you are already inside it. The recognition is not your discovery. It is the system noticing that you have noticed, and adjusting accordingly. Next Wednesday, Marcy didn't come in. Chapter 7. The Back Door. I called her at 9 in the morning. I called her at 10. At 11, I called Donna and said Marcy's not answering. Marcy took a personal day. She emailed me last night. She didn't tell me. She doesn't have to tell you. You're not her husband, Donna. There was a long pause on the line. Then Donna said, in a voice I had never heard from her, a voice that was tired and old and not unkind, "Go check on her. Take the rest of the day. I'll cover the dock." I took the bus to Marcy's apartment. A 3rd-floor walk-up behind a laundromat on the south side of Bowman. The kind of building where the front buzzer hadn't worked in a decade, and you got in by knowing somebody. I knew somebody. I went up the stairs 2 at a time, knocked on her door, and she didn't answer. I tried the knob. The door was unlocked, which was wrong, because Marcy was a single mother with a 6-year-old, and she did not leave doors unlocked. The apartment was quiet. Jonah was at school. The TV was off. The kitchen light was on. The back door of Marcy's apartment opened onto a wooden fire escape that ran down into a small concrete yard shared with the laundromat. The back door was open, not ajar, open, fully, the way you open a door when you are walking through it on purpose. On the kitchen counter, next to a half-drunk cup of coffee, was the key from the Skylar bag. It was lying on top of a piece of notebook paper. The paper said, in Marcy's handwriting, "It fits. I'm going to look. If I'm not back by 3, get Jonah from school. Don't tell Donna." It was 11:45. I stood in Marcy's kitchen and tried to think the way she would have wanted me to think, practically. The key fit her back door. She had walked through her back door. Her back door opened onto a fire escape and a concrete yard. There was nowhere for her to have gone. That wasn't just Bowman, just the alley, just the laundromat. I went out the back door. The fire escape was wet from a light rain that had stopped sometime in the night. The yard was empty. The laundromat's back door was closed and, when I tried it, locked. I walked the alley to the street and back. I went up to the second-floor landing of the fire escape and looked. I went up to the third, Marcy's landing, and looked. From the third-floor landing, looking down, I saw something I had not seen from the yard. The concrete in the yard was newer in one place, a rectangle, maybe 4 feet by 6, slightly lighter than the surrounding slab. The kind of patch you make when you've cut into concrete to access a pipe and then poured it back. From the ground, it looked like nothing. From above, with the rain still wet on the older concrete and dry on the newer, it was as obvious as a door. I went back down. I knelt on the patch. I put my ear to it. I want to be careful here, because what I am about to tell you is the thing I am least sure of, and the thing I have thought about the most in the years since. I heard, faintly, the sound of bags settling against each other. The way they settle in the cage at Heartlines, when something inside one of them shifts. I stood up. I went back upstairs. I locked Marcy's back door from the inside with the deadbolt, which did not need a key. I took the Skylar key off the counter and put it in my pocket. I picked up Jonah from school at 2:45, an hour early, told the front office I was a family friend, and Marcy had asked me to, and they let me, because Bowman is the kind of city where the schools still let that happen if your face is calm enough. I took Jonah to Donna's house. I had never been to Donna's house. I had her address from a Christmas card she'd given me in my first year. She opened the door, saw Jonah, saw my face, and said, "Oh, honey, asterisk." She did not mean me. She meant Jonah. She crouched down and said, "Hey, buddy, you want to see my cats?" The cats were alive. There were 2 of them. Jonah went with her into the kitchen, and I stood in the entryway of Donna's small, neat house and shook hard, for about 30 seconds. Then I stopped, because Donna came back out and looked at me and said, "Where?" Her back door. She closed her eyes. "Stay here, eat something. Don't go back to the store tonight. I'll handle it." "Donna, what is Skylar?" She opened her eyes and looked at me. "I don't know. I've never known. I just know what it takes and what it gives back. And right now it has taken, and we have to wait and see if it gives." Chapter 8. What Donna Knew. Donna told me what she knew that night, in her kitchen, with Jonah asleep on her couch under a quilt that I noted, with a small cold pulse, was not a log cabin pattern. The boy was fine. He didn't know anything was wrong. He had eaten macaroni and watched a cartoon and asked when his mom was coming, and Donna had said soon in a voice even he had believed. She had been at Heartlines for 18 years. Before her, the manager had been a woman named Eileen Ney, who had hired her, trained her, and one Wednesday had not come back from a smoke break. Before Eileen, the manager had been Rob Prendergast's wife, who had died officially of a stroke in 2003. Before her, Rob's father-in-law Heartline himself, who had founded the store in 1971, after Donna believed, bought the building cheaply from the city after the highway widening took out 3 blocks of the east side. The Skylar pallet had been arriving since 1971, Donna had asked Rob about it once, 10 years in, when she felt she had earned the question. Rob had said, "That's the deal my father-in-law made. I don't know what he traded. I just know we honor it." What the pallet did was this. It came every Wednesday with several bags. Some of the bags contained ordinary donations, clothes, dishes, books, that we sorted and sold like anything else. Some of the bags contained items that belonged to someone connected to Heartline's past, present, or, occasionally, future. Those items, if you held them back, if you kept them in the cage past the overnight pickup, were taken by the freight company in the small hours and never seen again. Those items, if you took them home, opened a door. "What kind of door?" I said. "The kind Marcy walked through." "Where does it go?" Donna stirred her tea. "Eileen used to say it goes to Skylar. She used to say it like it was a real place. I've looked. There is no Skylar in this state. There is no Skylar in any state that ships freight to us. The town does not exist. But the bags come from somewhere, and they go back to somewhere. And they go back to somewhere, and what I have learned is that you can live a whole life inside that not knowing, if you respect the protocol." "What's the protocol?" "You already know it. You wrote it yourself, even if you didn't know you were writing it. Don't open Skylar bags alone. Don't take anything home. Don't argue with the manifest. Don't keep written records that the building can reach." And she looked at me very steadily. "If someone you care about goes through a door, you do not follow them. You wait. If they come back, you take care of them. If they don't come back, you take care of what they left." She nodded toward the couch, where Jonah was sleeping with his mouth open. "You're going to take care of him," I said. "I have done it before." I asked her what she meant, and she said Lila's mother worked at Heartline's. In the 90s, Lila was 3 when her mother went through a door. I raised her until she was 18, at which point she came to work at Heartline's, against my advice. And 3 years later she took a bracelet home, and one Wednesday she did not come back from a smoke break. "You said she came back. You said she came back, but didn't work here anymore." Donna's face did the thing Marcy's had done in the back dock, with the quilt. She did not answer for a long time. Then she said, "What came back was not Lila. It looked like Lila. It used her voice. It worked the register for one shift, exactly one, and then it walked out the front door, and I have not seen it since. I do not know if it is still in Bowman. I do not know if it is still wearing her face. I only know that the building was satisfied, and the next Wednesday's pallet was light by 2 bags. I sat in Donna's kitchen and felt the floor of my life tilt very slightly, the way the deck of a boat tilts when something large passes underneath. "Marcy might come back," I said. "She might, or something might come back that looks like Marcy, yes, and I won't be able to tell. I will be able to tell. I have learned to. I will tell you, and you will believe me, and we will decide together what to do. That is the deal I am offering you. You can take it, or you can quit tonight, and I will give you a good reference, and you will never come back to the dock, and I will manage Jonah and the next Wednesday alone." I thought about Marcy, on the 3rd floor landing, putting a key in her pocket. "I'll take the deal," I said. "Then go home, sleep, come in tomorrow. Tomorrow we do regular bags. We do not touch Skylar until Wednesday, and on Wednesday, we open them together, you and me, in the back dock, and we see what comes." Chapter 9, The Wednesday. I did not sleep. I sat in my apartment and read, twice through, every page of the home notebook, the one on the kitchen table, the one Skylar couldn't reach. I read about the shoes, the quilt, the key, and the rectangle of new concrete in Marcy's yard. I read until the words stopped meaning anything, and then I read them again until they meant something new. At 4 in the morning, I got up and walked 2 Heartlines. The buses weren't running. It was a 40-minute walk through a Bowman that was too quiet, the kind of pre-dawn quiet where the only sound is the hum of the streetlights, and your own footsteps doubled back at you off the brick. I had Donna's key. She had given it to me a year before, for emergencies. I had never used it. I let myself in through the front, walked through the dark sales floor, past the silent register where Marcy worked, past the rolling racks, through the fire door, into the cage. The Wednesday pallet had not yet arrived. The cage held only the bags I had counted at close on Tuesday. 41 of them, I knew, because I had counted them, and because the manifest agreed with me, and because this is the thing I want you to understand, for the first time in 9 months. My count and the manifest's count had agreed before I checked. The building knew I was there. The building was not arguing. I went to Donna's office, unlocked the hold bin, took out everything in it that had a name on it, every item Skylar had sent that belonged to a person connected to Heartlines: coats, lunchboxes, wallets, the reading glasses with Marcy's prescription, photographs, the dog tag from the address that no longer existed. I laid them out on the sort table, in order of donation date, and looked at them, and understood the thing Donna had not told me, the thing she might not have known, the thing the protocol had been built around without naming. The items belonging to people who had gone through doors: Eileen's, Leela's mother's, Leela's others I could now identify, were missing from the bin. They were not there. They had been taken back on the overnight pickup, sometime after those people had walked through. The items belonging to people who were still here, Donna, Devon, Rob, Prendergast, and me, were present, waiting. There was an item I had not let myself look at in the bin. I had logged it in my home notebook 2 weeks before, and I had not gone back to it. A leather wallet, empty. The initials DLHR stamped in the corner. My name is Daniel Lewis Harper. I had not told anyone at Heartlines my middle name. It was not on my application. It was not on my W-2, which used only my middle initial. It was on my driver's license, and my birth certificate, and the lease of an apartment I had lived in during the gap year I did not talk about, and nowhere else in Bowman. I picked up the wallet. It was warm, not body warm. The temperature of something that had been sitting in the sun, except there was no sun, and there were no windows in Donna's office. And the wallet had been in a locked bin, in a locked office, in a dark building since Tuesday. I put it in my pocket. I want to explain this because it matters. I did not put the wallet in my pocket because I had decided to take it home. I put it in my pocket because I had decided that whatever door it opened, I wanted to be the one to choose when. Marcy had walked through her door without knowing what she was doing. Lila had taken a bracelet home by accident. I was going to do this with my eyes open, in daylight, with another person present, in a place I had picked. I left the rest of the items on the table, because I wanted Donna to see them when she came in. I wrote her a note, in pen, on a piece of receipt paper, and left it on top. The note said, Donna. I have my wallet. I am going to Marcy's yard. If I am not back by close, get Jonah and go somewhere Skylar doesn't know. The pattern reaches forward. It already had my middle name. I let myself out the front. Walked back across Bowman in the gray pre-dawn. The first bus of the morning passed me as I reached Marcy's block. I didn't take it. I went up the alley, into the yard behind the laundromat. I stood on the rectangle of newer concrete. I took the wallet out of my pocket. The concrete under my feet was warm. Chapter 10, Skylar. I want to tell you what I saw, and I am going to try, but I have to tell you first that this is the part of the story I trust least, not because I think I made it up, but because I think the place is not built to be remembered accurately. I think it edits itself in your memory, the way the field notes edited themselves in my pocket. I have written this down in the home notebook 3 times in the years since, and each time the details shift slightly, and I do not know which version is closest to the truth. This is the version I have today. The concrete didn't open. I want to be clear about that. There was no trapdoor. I was standing on the patch with the wallet in my hand, and then I was standing somewhere else. And the transition was a held breath. The way you don't notice falling asleep. The way you don't notice the moment the highway crosses the county line. I was on a loading dock. It was the Heartlines loading dock. It was exactly the Heartlines loading dock, the same concrete, the same 3 roll-up doors, the same fire door leading to the same cage. But the light was different. The light was the gray of an overcast afternoon that had been overcast for a long time, and the air was cool and smelled faintly of river water in August, and there was no city around the building. The parking lot ended at a tree line. The tree line was unfamiliar. The trees were the wrong shape for Bowman. The cage was full, not with bags, with people. I want to be careful. I want to be accurate. The people in the cage were not crowded together, and they were not distressed. They were sitting on bags, or leaning against the chain link, or, in one case, folding a quilt with the unhurried care of someone who had folded it many times before. There were maybe 15 of them. They were of various ages. They were dressed in clothes from various decades. Several looked up when I appeared on the dock, and several did not. And the ones who looked up did so without surprise, the way you look up when a coworker comes back from break. Marcy was one of them. She was sitting on a bag near the front of the cage. She was wearing the clothes she had been wearing on Tuesday. She was holding the log cabin quilt in her lap. When she saw me, her face did something I am going to try, again, not to describe in detail. It was not happiness. It was not horror. It was the expression of a person who had been waiting for news they already knew. She came to the gate of the cage. She did not open it. The gate was not locked. She just did not open it. "Daniel," she said, "you weren't supposed to come. I came to bring you back." "I know. That's not how it works." There was an older woman behind her, white-haired mid-60s, wearing a Heartlines polo from a generation of polos before mine. Eileen, I thought. She nodded at me as if we had met. Marcy said, "The bags don't come from a town." "There's no town. Skylar is. It's the other dock. The dock the building has. The freight goes both ways. They send us things, and we send them." She paused, and chose her word, people. "Not on purpose. The building chooses. It chooses by leaving things in the bags. Things you'll recognize, things you'll take home. And once you take something home, you've agreed. You've signed for the freight. I have my wallet. I haven't taken it home. You crossed the patch. That's the same thing. The patch is where the door is, when the door is open. You opened it by standing on it with something that has your name on it. Then I'll go back. I'll step off. You can go back. But you can only go back if someone here stays. The freight is balanced. Every Wednesday is an even count." Behind her, Eileen said, gently, "It's all right. Tell him." Marcy looked at Eileen, and then at me, and she said, "I've been here 3 days. I've talked to Eileen. I've talked to the woman who folds the quilt. Her name was Ruth. She was Rob's mother-in-law. She was the first one. Ruth told me how it works. Skylar doesn't keep us. It just holds us until the freight is balanced. The thing that goes back to Bowman, the thing that comes out of the patch on the other side, at close on Wednesday, is one of us. Whichever one of us has been here longest, usually, sometimes whichever one of us wants too." She looked at Eileen. "Eileen's been here 18 years, I said. "I'm tired, dear," Eileen said. "She's going back tonight," Marcy said. "She was going back tonight before you came. She's been the longest. She's ready. Then she goes back. And you stay, and I stay, and someone has to come for us next Wednesday. Daniel, listen, if you stay, you stay. The longest one goes back. But the count has to be right. If you came in, someone has to go out. And the someone is Eileen, because she's been here the longest. But if you stay with me, then next Wednesday Eileen's replacement is whoever's been here longest, which will be," she gestured at the cage, "Ruth, probably, or the man in the green coat. Not me, not for years. The line is long. You'd be here for years. Daniel, with me, we'd be here for years, and Jonah would be." She stopped. She put her hand against the chain link. "Jonah is 6, she said. "Donna has him. I know Donna will keep him. Donna is good. But Donna is 60 next year, and she has been managing the dock for 18 years, and the building is going to want her too, eventually, and when it does, Jonah is going to be alone, unless someone is in Bowman who knows what he is." "What is he?" "Skylar doesn't take strangers. It only takes people connected to the dock. Jonah is connected. He has been since the day I started. The quilt was made the year I was born because the building was already counting me. Jonah is in the count, too. He's going to find his way to the dock. Daniel, the way Lila did. The way I did, the way you did. Unless someone is there to teach him not to. Unless someone is there who knows the protocol and can keep him out of it. I can do that. I know. That's what I'm asking. Marcy, go back. Daniel, take Eileen with you. She goes through first. She has to. She's the longest. Then you. Then the patch closes. You take care of my son. You teach him not to take things home. You let me stay here until the line moves, and it's my turn to go back. And if I come back as me, we'll figure it out. And if I come back as something else, you'll know, and you'll do what Donna did with Leela, which is let it walk out the front door. I don't know if I can do that. You can. You're careful. That's why the building picked you. That's why I picked you. On Wednesdays. She put her hand through the chain link. I took it. It was warm. It was the temperature of the wallet in my pocket. It was the temperature of the concrete patch. It was the temperature, I realized, of every Skylar item I had ever touched. The held breath warmth of something that had been somewhere else recently, and had not yet given up the heat. Eileen stepped past Marcy. She squeezed Marcy's shoulder. She walked through the cage gate, across the dock, past me, to the rectangle of slightly different concrete in the loading area, the patch. On this side, and she stood on it, and she looked at me, and she said, "Step on when I'm gone, don't wait." The building gets nervous. She closed her eyes. She was not there. I looked at Marcy. Marcy said, "Go." I stepped onto the patch. Chapter 11. The walk back. I was in the yard behind the laundromat. It was full daylight. A woman from the laundromat was standing in the back doorway with a cigarette, looking at me, and she said, "You okay, hun? You've been standing there 10 minutes. Yeah, sorry. Thought I dropped something. Find it? No." I walked out of the yard. I walked to the bus stop. I took the bus to Heartlines. It was 9:30 in the morning. The Wednesday pallet had arrived at 8. Donna was on the dock with the manifest. When she saw me, she said nothing. She just looked at my face, and then over my shoulder, the way you look past someone to see who else is coming. Eileen's back. I said, "Where?" "I don't know. She came through first. I came through second. I don't know where she came out." Donna sat down on a stack of pallets. She put her face in her hands. She did not cry. After a while, she said, "She find her way here. She always did. She knew the back roads. Marcy stayed. I know. I knew when I saw your face. She wants me to take care of Jonah. I know. We'll figure it out. He can stay with me on weekdays. You can take weekends. It will be a thing we do." She looked up at me. "There's a manifest to count. Are you up to it?" Yes, we counted the manifest. 43 bags. 43 bags in the cage. The numbers agreed. 3 of them were Skylar bags. We left them sealed. We sorted the rest. At 11, the front doorbell rang, and a woman walked in. Gray-haired mid-60s, in a coat that was a decade out of style. She came to the back dock without being directed. She said to Donna, "I came in on the 7:15 bus. I don't have any money. Can someone lend me cab fare home? I don't remember where I parked." Donna stood up and hugged her. Donna did not let go for a long time. That was Eileen. Eileen stayed with Donna. She did not come back to work. She was, Donna said quietly to me later, out of sync, in a way that took years to settle. She forgot decades. She remembered a husband who had died in 1999, as if she had seen him yesterday. She was kind, and she was confused, and she was unmistakably herself. Donna took care of her. I took care of Jonah on weekends and after school on the days Donna had appointments. I taught him how to ride a bike. I taught him not to pick things up off the ground without looking. I taught him not to put things in his pockets that he did not remember putting there. I never told him about Skylar. I did not have to. The building was patient. The building had years. I worked the back dock through that winter, and the spring, and into the next summer. I sorted the regular bags. On Wednesdays, Donna and I opened the Skylar bags together, in the back dock, with the door cracked for air. We pulled the items with names. We logged them in a notebook Donna kept in a fireproof box at her house, because the building could not reach her house either. We watched for Marcy. She came through, in pieces, over the next year. A scarf with her sparrow tattoo printed on it. A coffee mug from the diner where she used to take Jonah. A photograph of her, taken at an angle from across a yard I did not recognize, her face turned slightly away. The pieces did not add up to a person. The pieces added up to the residue of a person someone was thinking about, on the other side, and sending us as a kind of correspondence. I wrote her back. In a way, I left things in the bags on the way back. A drawing Jonah made. A pressed leaf from the tree outside her old apartment. Donna told me this was not protocol, that Skylar did not take outgoing mail, but I did it anyway. The items did not come back. I chose to believe that meant they got through. Chapter 12. The Sting. Marcy did not come back. Not as Marcy. Not as something wearing Marcy. The line is long, she said, and I have come to believe that what she meant was, the line is longer than your life. There are people in that cage who were waiting before Heartlines existed, before the highway widening, before Bowman was a city. The freight is balanced, but the balance is patient. Marcy may walk out of a yard in another 40 years, an old woman in clothes, from a decade I won't be alive to see. And the person she finds at Heartlines will be Jonah, gray-haired, behind the register, and he will know her, because I will have told him, on his 18th birthday, the only thing I plan to ever tell him about his hard mother. I will tell him she went away to take care of something, and she asked me to take care of him. And if a woman ever comes into the store who feels familiar, he should look at her hands. Because Marcy had a sparrow on the inside of her left wrist. And the building cannot fake a tattoo. The building can fake a face, a voice, a walk. It cannot fake skin that has been broken and healed in a shape someone chose at 19 for reasons she was no longer sure of. Donna died last year. Quietly, in her sleep, in her own bed, of a heart that had been tired for a long time. Eileen had died 2 years before her, of the same. The cats outlived them both, and live with me now. Jonah is 14. He is a quiet kid. He is careful with his pockets. He does not work at Heartlines. And he is not going to pretend, and I have told Rob Prendergast, who is old now, and who looked at me, the day Donna died, with an expression I finally understood that I am the last manager. After me, the doors close. After me, the building gets sold for whatever a former Pontiac dealership is worth. And the Skylar pallet arrives one Wednesday at an empty dock. And what happens then, I do not know, and will not be alive to see. I still write everything down. I write it on the kitchen table, in the notebook the building cannot reach, and I keep the notebook in a fireproof box, and I have given Jonah the combination in a sealed envelope to be opened on his 18th birthday or upon my death, whichever comes first. The wallet with my initials is still in my pocket. I have carried it for 7 years. It is still warm. Not always, but sometimes, on Wednesdays, when I am sorting bags on the back dock and the light comes in slantwise through the high windows, and I think for a moment about a woman folding a quilt in a cage on the other side of a patch of newer concrete, the wallet warms against my hip, the temperature of something that has been somewhere else recently, and has not yet given up the heat. I think it means she is thinking about me. I think one day I will stand on the path with the wallet in my hand, and I will go through, and Jonah will be old enough, and the line will have moved. I will find her near the front of the cage, and we will fold the quilt together, until it is our turn to go back, or until it isn't, and we choose to stay, and the building, patient as it is, lets us. Until then, I sort the bags, I count the manifest, I do not argue with the numbers. And every Wednesday, when the freight comes in from a town with no return address, I check the tags, and I check my pockets, and I tell the boy on the register, a kid named Marcus, 20, careful, who reminds me a little of myself at that age, the same 3 things Donna once told me. Don't open them alone. Don't take anything home. And whatever the manifest says, the manifest is right. He thinks I'm joking. They always do. At first,